Hi, I'm Andy from Mr. Sheng and Tabatha's Traveling Revival. Lately we've been releasing some of our most secret recipes on YouTube, just for fun. Our coleslaw is very popular. It's spiked with rhubarb, which adds a really unique tone of acidity. And I'm going to demonstrate for you now how we do it. So, in order to make our coleslaw, what we're going to need is 1/4 head of cabbage, 1 carrot, 1/2 stalk of rhubarb, some sugar, some salt, some white wine vinegar, or cider vinegar works very well as well, some regular oil, and 2 egg yolks. The first thing we do in the process is pickle the actual cabbage. So you want to take your 1/4 head and just chop out the root, like so. And then we're just going to slice it real thin in shavings. You can do this with red coal as well if you want to get some crazy colors going on. You can mix in other kinds of cabbage. Coleslaw is very versatile and very open to creativity. So, I'm just going to put my cabbage in a bowl. Now this is the really important part when you're making a coleslaw. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add to this 1/4 head of cabbage about 1/3 of a deciliter of sugar and 1/4 deciliter of salt, and about 1/2 of a deciliter of vinegar. And then you just want to mix it around real well. Preferably at this stage you let it sit overnight, but if you're in a rush, it works to let it sit for about maybe 3 hours. And what it does is the sugar, the salt, and the vinegar, they pull the moisture out of the cabbage, make it soft, sweet, salty, and sour, obviously. It seems like a lot of salt and sugar and vinegar, but a lot of it goes away with the actual water from the cabbage. So you want those flavors left when you finalize your coleslaw. So, we'll just put that aside. In the meantime, while we're waiting for our cabbage to be pickled, we can make our mayonnaise for the actual coleslaw. So, you need 2 egg yolks, and about 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. Now, we don't add any salt or sugar to this mayonnaise, which you usually would do, because we get so much flavor from the pickled cabbage, and we don't want that to take over. So we need to be able to adjust the salt and sugar in the end. So the mayonnaise we leave in a really neutral state. So there I have 2 egg yolks, 2 tablespoons of Dijon. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of vinegar. And then, now I'm using an immersion blender. You can use a mixer, a food processor, anything that mixes. You can even do this by hand if you like, but for my purposes, so any immersion blender works just fine for me. So we can get the oil open. No. Okay. This will get loud. I'm going to make some mayonnaise. Okay, the mayonnaise is done. Now we just need to shred 1 carrot. Carrot adds a little bit of sweetness to the actual coleslaw, but the biggest thing it does is adds color, so it's not just a white mass. So it's good to use a lot of carrot just so that you have a nice color scheme in your actual coleslaw. And then the next step we're going to take is thinly slicing the rhubarb, which you want to have it really, really thin because you don't want to get a big chunk of rhubarb in your mouth when it's raw. It has a very strong acid flavor, which will dissipate into the coleslaw if it's thin enough. So here we have our carrots. I'm just going to thinly slice this. So, now we have all the components we need for our coleslaw. We just have to wait for the cabbage to be done. So I'm going to give that several hours, and then I'll put the cabbage in a colander so that the liquid from it actually drains off as much as possible. And I'll just set aside this mixture of rhubarb and carrots. Alright, our coleslaw has been sitting for about 6 hours, and then I put it in a colander and let the liquid drain off of it for a bit. So we're ready to finish our coleslaw. If I just taste the actual cabbage as it is now, I'm like, whoa, way too salty, way too sweet, too much vinegar. That's exactly why we did not put any flavoring into this very solid mayonnaise that we made. It's going to round out the flavors and neutralize things. And of course I've shredded carrots and rhubarb, so I'll add those first. And just give it a little stir. I'm going to add white pepper. I like white pepper in this recipe, but you're welcome to use any kind of pepper you like. You can use chili, you can use black pepper, you can use rosea. It's totally up to you, but I think that white pepper has a more mild tone, but it still gives some heat. I'm quite fond of it, so there we go. Then we just have to add some mayonnaise. Now, if you're not making your own mayonnaise, if you're going to use Hellmann's or commercially purchased mayonnaise, make sure you let the cabbage drain really well so it doesn't get watery and runny, because nobody likes a watery coleslaw. Now again, as this sits with the mayonnaise overnight, it's going to release more flavors. The rhubarb will dispense more of its acidity. The carrots won't change much, but it is good if you can let it sit for 24 hours. And like I always say, you always have to taste everything, see if it's turned out well or not, or if it would adjust any flavors. Nope. Good stuff.